I was going to do my video for this week out in the nature until nature decided it was going to have a temper tantrum called thunder and lightning. And the thunder was a bit loud. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, I have a PTSD issue when it comes to thunder and lightning, and it has to do with when I was on travels. And now I don't do well with thunder and lightning. So for safety, I came back inside, and now I'm going to do my wonderful video and share with you about grief, loss, and how it impacts with fibromyalgia. When I started my whole project with fibromyalgia and with work, I thought I had it all down pat until I noticed a correlation with grief and loss and keeping functioning in a work environment. I was finding that my grief and my loss were periodically coming up and getting active every once in a while. And for as much as I was working, I was getting things done, I was creating, and I was trying to do work and so on. And for as much as I had the grief and loss, and I had this work, and it was pointed out to me at my counseling, I shared with her, I feel like there's a correlation between the two, that I'm not being able to maintain the one, and this grief and loss keep rearing their, I don't know if I'm dealing with it right. And when I described everything, she said there's a word for it. There's an actual clinical statement to this. And I looked it up because she didn't tell me what it was called. And there's compound post-traumatic disorder, stress disorder, and there's also compound grief. There's also complicated grief. There's so many. When I looked up grief, I realized that there are several different categories for grief. Mind you, I'm not a counselor, nor do I claim to be a counselor. I'm looking at being a peer counselor in time, but I realized that for as much as I desired to be a grief counselor, or a peer counselor, not a grief counselor, a peer counselor, I'm also having to deal with some issues myself. I have dealt with the fibromyalgia. I do live a low to no pain life. There are times when I get flare-ups. I'm going to be honest with you. This last week, I was having flare-up after flare-up, and I couldn't figure out why. And I actually had a relative tell me that I was working extra hard from the normal, like on Tuesday. Now, this is Sunday, so Tuesday, and then Wednesday I worked extra hard, and I did a lot more movement than normal. Thursday, same thing. Friday was the time I got connected with my counselor. She gave me an assignment, and when she did, she said it's going to be work. And when she explained it, I realized the work that she was talking about, it's really rather intense. Taking a look at my actual issues and learning to work with them. Not work with them, but work through them. Because I have had an exorbitant amount of loss. And for me, I never thought that I had really a lot of loss. I mean, I've had a lot of loss, but to really acknowledge it, deal with it, and work through it, it's different. I have heard many people tell me how much of a strong woman that I am. And for as much as I hear I'm a strong woman, I feel like I'm not. And I was like, thank you for saying that I'm a strong woman. And coming from somebody who's a miracle, and I talk about her as a miracle because in all reality, she's not supposed to be alive today per medical terminology, because she actually is a living, breathing miracle, as she had brain cancer. And they were able to actually remove the sac the brain cancer was in. So she's classified completely cancer-free to this day. And many have made a comment, we don't understand, what doesn't make sense. I said, well, first of all, she's a miracle because she wasn't expected to live past 18. And secondly, she's now in her 20s and doing quite well. Now, this little miracle came to me and she said, you know what? You're one of the strongest women I know. Through all the losses, through all the grief, and you're still going. I'm like, I guess. It's a matter of taking things in stride, taking things as they are. And I do this all in faith. And I do share in faith. I do share in hope. I share with love. Love is 3 parts. I was taught this at a very young age. There's friendship love. There's physical love, lusting love. There's also the Christian love. The Christian love that reaches out to people and loves unconditionally with no strings attached. And I tend to love with all of it combined. Now, what I come to about today is that it's been addressed that there's questions about tension and clicking and all the way through the body. What we have to remember is that fibromyalgia is defined fibro or fiber. My is muscle. Algia is pain. It's generalized overall body pain. So if you're hearing clicking in any part of your body, and that means nose, throat, face, anywhere, you're probably having fibromyalgia flare-ups. So using myofascial massage to massage those muscles and to put them at ease. Stress is a major issue. It's real. Stress in environment and internal stress. And we tend to take those things in that are around us and internalize them. And that can actually create more challenges. Then we have the internal stresses of health conditions that actually create stress too. So when we have a loss or a grief, or we're grieving over something, it's going to internalize. We're going to respond to it. Now, if we respond to it and let it go, that's actually the most beneficial for our body, internal and external. But for many of us, especially those with fibromyalgia, we tend to take the grief, we tend to take the loss, and we internalize and we don't let it go. And I am here to say that it's not easy to let go. It's not easy to let go of losses. It's not easy to deal with grief or stress. But dealing with them is actually important to be able to move overall in a forward momentum. Prayer, time of meditation, time of journaling. And when I say prayer, I'm saying giving it all, just letting it go. Now, for me, it's giving it to God. Praying and giving it to God. For some of you, it might not be that way. I'm not going to judge. I'm just sharing from my perspective. Being able to accept these things and move on is a key situation for life. To be able to live life in a positive manner. Now, I'm not one to share with how to let it go because honestly, truthfully, I'm still learning myself. There's some things that are easier to let go than others. What I do know is forgiveness is huge. letting go and forgiving those who have hurt you. It's not going to help them, but it will help you to be able to grow and flourish. So this week is discussing about the grief, loss, the work issues that tend to bring us down, a way of bringing in an income, and forgiveness of some of those griefs and some of those losses, the people that are behind them, forgiving it and letting it go. It'll help you to grow. So until next week, that's it. There is one last detail that I'm looking at doing of a video journal diary of decluttering and how it can help us with fibromyalgia, releasing some of the stressors and some of the anxiety that we deal with. It's going to be very interesting to see how people respond. I'm just sharing that I'm looking at doing a video diary of it and sharing it here. Until next time, have a great one.